Title: Whispers in the Hollow. Part 1, The Invitation. It began with a message in the group chat. Guys, we need a weekend away. No phones, no work, just us, the fire, and the trees. I found a perfect spot, Whistler's Hollow, off-grid and untouched. Brandon. 6 friends agreed. Brandon, the energetic outdoorsman. Tasha, his girlfriend and a skeptic of all things supernatural. Lena, the quiet artist. Omar, the jokester with a hidden past. Chelsea, the thrill-seeker with a morbid curiosity. And Ryan, the new guy, reserved, observant, odd. Whistler's Hollow wasn't on any official map. Brandon found it mentioned in a 1970s hiking journal, yellowed with age and paranoia. The writer described it as too quiet and worn, never stray from the firelight. Don't answer if you hear your name, and if you see red eyes, run. Pray it's not too late. They thought it was just lore. Part 2, Arrival. They hiked 4 miles off trail to reach the site. The forest was unusually silent. No birdsong, no rustling of squirrels, just the crunch of their boots on dead leaves and an oppressive, watching stillness. When they arrived at the hollow, the trees curved inward, unnatural and skeletal, their twisted limbs interlocked, forming a dome that blotted out the sky even in daylight. Beneath it, an old fire pit ringed by stones, many of them scorched and cracked. A scent lingered, something foul, coppery, and ancient. Ryan stood motionless at the edge of the clearing. Something wrong? Lena asked. He shook his head slowly. Just, feels familiar. Part 3, First Night. They drank. They laughed. Omar told a ghost story about a man who followed voices into the woods and returned without his face. Then, the wind died. The fire flickered. Tasha pointed toward the trees. Did you guys see that? Everyone turned. Between 2 gnarled trunks, just at the edge of vision, something moved. A silhouette too dark for night, featureless except for 2 burning red eyes, floating above the ground. Brandon, is this a joke? Chelsea asked. You planted a speaker or something? Brandon swore he hadn't. The thing vanished when the fire flared again. Part 4, Whispers. They slept in tents. In the silence of the forest, something whispered. Ryan woke first. The voice was soft, like wind threading through dead leaves. Ryan. It wasn't just a whisper. It was his mother's voice, dead for 3 years. He crawled out, barefoot, dazed, eyes fixed toward the trees. Ryan, please. The eyes appeared again, closer this time, red like coals. They pulsed with every syllable of the voice. Come to me. A hand, black as pitch and impossibly long, unfurled from the shadow. Ryan reached out, trembling. Then Lena screamed. The red eyes blinked out, and Ryan fell back, gasping. Part 5, Day 2. Ryan wouldn't speak, just sat by the fire, staring at the trees. His eyes were ringed with darkness. He hadn't slept. Lena said she'd seen something watching him, tall, lanky, darker than the shadows it hid in. Brandon laughed it off, but uneasily. Tasha and Chelsea went to get water from the stream. They didn't return. Brandon found their water canteens by the river, and deep gouges in the nearby trees, like claw marks, but far too high, and a drag trail, as if someone had been pulled. Blood, barely visible in the dirt. Part 6, The Mark. That night, no one slept. They kept the fire burning high. Omar, pacing near the tents, suddenly stopped. Do you guys smell that? Burnt hair, rotting meat, sulfur. Then the fire dimmed. The wind rose, and the thing emerged. It didn't walk, it slid. Its form was shifting, sometimes a man, sometimes a beast. Its eyes were endless pits of red. No mouth, no face, just the impression of a grin, stretched and wrong. They backed away, but Omar stepped forward, transfixed. Mom. Then it was on him. The fire flared and blew out. Screams. When they got the fire relit, Omar was gone. In his place was a puddle of thick, black fluid, and on a nearby tree, carved into the bark, 4 remained. Part 7, Unraveling. Brandon wanted to run for help. Ryan said that was what it wanted. If you leave the hollow, it follows. It spreads. It doesn't need all of us, it just needs one to leave infected. What are you talking about? Lena asked. Ryan finally told them. His brother had vanished years ago in a forest just like this. He found the same red eyes, The same black fluid. But the thing didn't take him. It marked him. Ryan had been dreaming of it ever since. I think I let it here, he whispered. It doesn't kill like a beast. It consumes like a disease. Through fear. That night, Lena was the next to go. They found her fingers clawing from beneath the tent floor, buried alive. Her mouth was packed with soil. Her eyes were open, bloody, and filled with terror. On the tent canvas, 3 remained. Part A, Fire and Ash. Ryan drew a circle of salt around the fire. He chanted in a strange, guttural tongue. Brandon accused him of witchcraft. It's a ward, Ryan snapped. It's the only thing that's worked. Chelsea wasn't convinced. She said she needed air. She stepped beyond the salt. They heard the scream, short and wet. Her body dropped from above, hung by strands of black shadow like spider silk. Her face was frozen mid-scream, her eyes gouged out. 2 remained. Part 9, The End of Night. The fire was nearly out. Only Brandon and Ryan remained. Ryan looked sick, twitching, sweating. I can hear it inside me, he said. Brandon raised the last flare gun. You brought it here. Maybe if I stop you. No. Ryan opened his shirt. His chest was etched with black veins. His eyes glowed faintly red. I'm already gone. He ran into the woods, screaming the entity's name, though Brandon couldn't comprehend it. A name that tasted of rust and ice and madness. The thing followed. The forest screamed with them. Brandon waited. Dawn crept in. Part 10, Survivor. Rescue teams found Brandon 2 days later, wandering near a ranger station, eyes wild, covered in ash and blood. He wouldn't speak. Just one sentence again and again. It took them. It took their souls. And sometimes, when the nurses leave his door ajar, they hear him whisper to the night. One left. One left. One left. Echoes Beyond the Hollow. Part 1, The Return. It had been 6 months since Brandon stumbled out of Whistler's Hollow, alone and broken. He didn't speak to anyone, not police, not doctors, not his own family. He was committed to a psychiatric facility in upstate New York. Then he vanished. The locked door had no signs of forced entry. Security footage simply glitched. 7 minutes of static, then an empty room. A nurse swore she saw red eyes in the hallway that night. Part 2, The Survivors Network. A woman named Miranda Wells, paranormal investigator and survivor of her own forest incident in Oregon, heard whispers about Whistler's Hollow, rumors of a place where souls went missing and only one came out. She found an anonymous blog with disturbing journal entries, clearly written by Brandon. He spoke of a mark passed on, a curse that grew stronger in silence. Miranda assembled a team to find the hollow again. Miranda, the leader. Caleb, ex-priest turned demonologist. Harper, cryptozoologist and tracker. Joel, Brandon's cousin, desperate for answers. Sarah, psychic medium with a haunted past. They entered the forest on October 13, exactly 1 year to the day after the original incident. Part 3, The Hollow Awakens. The forest was wrong from the first step. The air buzzed, like insects under the skin. Compass needles spun. GPS died. The woods grew denser, darker, the deeper they moved. Harper marked trees behind them. Each mark vanished when they looked back. Sarah started muttering things she didn't understand, phrases in ancient tongues, names no one recognized. That night at camp, Joel dreamed of Brandon, his face cracked like porcelain, eyes bleeding shadow. He whispered, "You should not have come. It knows you now." Part 4, The Tether. Miranda realized the hollow wasn't a place, it was a living threshold, a gateway that opened when marked souls entered, or were drawn back. Joel had the mark, passed to him through Brandon's last journal, which bore a hidden symbol in human blood. Sarah confirmed it. The entity had expanded, now unbound by the original forest. It needed only memory and remembrance to manifest. It has learned to echo. Part 5, The First Loss. They heard it the second night. A low whistle, like wind through bone. Caleb wandered from camp, muttering prayers. They found only his crucifix buried in the dirt, bent, blackened, and still worn. A smear of blood on a tree read. 1 fallen, 6 remained. They'd never told anyone the number in the original carvings, but the entity knew. Part 6, Red Eyes Multiply. The red eyes appeared again, but this time, not just one pair. dozens. Miranda theorized that the entity had fractured, multiplying like a virus, infecting the forest and mimicking the souls it consumed. They saw Brandon that night, or something wearing his face. He stood just outside the firelight, head twitching, his smile too wide. He didn't speak, he just pointed behind them. When they turned back, Harper was gone. In her place, a trail of torn fabric, leading into the hollow. 5 remained. Part 7, The Hollow Within. Sarah collapsed, her skin writhed, as if something moved beneath it. She spoke in tongues. The hollow is not a place, it is a memory, a scar in the world. You opened it again. It cannot be closed until the last soul burns. Miranda saw it now. Each of them had a personal shadow, invisible until firelight touched them. Each shadow had glowing red eyes. Joel's shadow began to move independently. Part 8, The Sacrifice. They tried to run. The trees closed in. Time wore. Daylight never returned. Joel, consumed with guilt and madness, lit himself ablaze with the last of their fuel. As he burned, he screamed a name none of them could understand, a name etched in the entity's domain. The red eyes receded. For a moment, it seemed like it worked. Until they heard Joel's voice, still screaming, but from above. His charred corpse hung from the trees like a marionette. 4 remained. Part 9, The Mirror. Sarah claimed there was one way to end it. You must confront it in the reflection tree, where the entity was first called. They found it on the 4th night, a tree as white as a house, bark like obsidian, its surface reflecting everything but their eyes. Only the red ones showed up. Miranda stepped forward. Her reflection split, shattering into shards of every version of herself who had ever felt fear. The entity spoke. You know me, you fed me, you brought me back. Now echo what you are. Part 10, Echoes. Sarah tried to bind it with the ritual. Failed. The entity whispered her name with 1,000 voices, each her own. It crawled into her mind and turned her into static, a body with a face blurred beyond recognition. Caleb reappeared then, only not Caleb. Just a shell filled with black smoke. Harper walked on broken limbs. Joel's burning eyes cried ash. They were all puppets now. 2 remained. Part 11, Last Light. Miranda and Ryan. Yes, Ryan returned, scarred, hollow-eyed. He had followed the entity, seeking its heart. It can be trapped, he said, but it must be fed a soul willingly, a trade, a tether cut. Miranda realized she had to offer herself, or let it keep echoing, spreading through memory, retelling, remembrance. As she walked toward the reflection tree, Ryan whispered, "This won't stop it, but it will slow it." Epilogue, Forget Me Not. They found Ryan months later, walking beside a highway. He told investigators he'd been lost in the woods. Of Miranda, there was no trace. Until a woman matching her description appeared in the corner of a hiker's selfie. Blurred, smiling, red eyes faint in the shadows. And beneath that same hiker's pillow weeks later, carved into the wood. 1 remains. Speak my name, remember me, let me in. The 9th Summit. Prologue, Ashes of Brotherhood. Friendship can be a fragile thing. For some, it's a bond forged in love and loyalty. For others, it's a thread tied by circumstance, proximity, or guilt. And sometimes, it's a smoldering rope soaked in envy, ready to burn. Ethan Cole never thought he'd outgrow the group. To him, they were family, flawed, chaotic, but family nonetheless. He didn't realize that success changes the chemistry of loyalty. That some smiles mask teeth. That love, twisted by time and resentment, can turn fatal. But that weekend in the mountains, the one he thought was for reconnecting, it would be his last. And it would not end quietly. Part 1, Invitations. Ethan sent the invite with genuine warmth. An all-expenses-paid weekend to a remote luxury cabin near Oregon's Cascade Range. Hiking, drinking, fresh air, a break from the grind. Jared was the first to reply. Count me in, man. Been too long. Then came Marcus, if you're paying, I'm hiking. Tessa, Lena, and Ken responded in the group chat with gifs and excited emojis. Even Riley, who hadn't spoken to Ethan in months, said yes. Nico called privately. I'm happy for you, man. We'll toast to your millions. I mean it. Shay was last. Quiet, hesitant. You sure you want all of us up there? Of course, Ethan had replied, "What's life if you can't share it?" But Ethan hadn't seen the side group chat titled, Operation Clean Slate. Part 2, Ascent. The drive up was scenic, cheerful, to the untrained eye. Inside the SUV, laughter filled the air, but it was laced with calculation. Ethan sat in the front passenger seat, snapping pictures of the mountain. "This place looks like something out of a movie." Behind him, Marcus whispered to Cam, "Better enjoy the view while he can." They arrived Friday evening. The cabin stood alone among towering pines, perched just a few miles from Dead Man's Ridge, a trail known more for its name than its danger. Inside, the lodge was lavish. Ethan spared no expense. He cooked dinner himself, opened a $700 bottle of wine, toasted to old times. "To us," he said, raising his glass, "and to the future." No one else drank from their glass. That night, the others gathered in the den after Ethan went to bed. No one had to say it. They had already agreed. Saturday morning, before noon. No more Ethan. Part 3, The Fall. The trail to Dead Man's Ridge was quiet, blanketed in a light mist. The forest breathed around them. Ethan led the group, camera slung across his chest, map in hand. About halfway up, they reached an overlook, a jagged cliff that stretched out like a balcony over the valley. Ethan turned, grinning. "Perfect spot for a group shot." "Yes," said Jared. "Real memorable." He handed Ethan his phone to set up the timer. As Ethan bent to place it on a rock, Shay stepped forward and shoved him, just enough to knock him to one knee. "What the hell?" Ethan laughed nervously. Marcus stepped in with a punch to the stomach. "Guys," Ethan backed up, confused. "This isn't funny." The group formed a semicircle. No one smiled. No one spoke. Tessa swung first, a hiking stick across his face. Blood spattered onto the stone. Then fists. Then boots. Screams. Gasps. Please. 8 friends. 1 betrayal. They beat him until he barely moved. Riley whispered, "End it." Jared stepped forward. "Goodbye, Ethan." With one final shove, he sent Ethan over the edge. No scream, just the sound of his body hitting the rocks below. Part 4, Lies. They rehearsed it on the hike back. He slipped. "We tried to help. We were all ahead of him. We called for help but there was no signal." They called the rangers from the cabin with practiced sobs. By the time the rescue crew retrieved Ethan's broken body, the story was airtight. The investigation took 2 weeks. The conclusion? Accidental fall. No foul play suspected. The obituary praised Ethan's ambition, his generosity. The 8 friends attended his funeral. They gave hugs, said all the right words. Then they scattered. And one by one, the hauntings began. Part 5, Echoes. Lena the influencer. Lena was the first. Back in LA, she returned to her apartment full of PR packages and unopened apologies. She went live that evening, giving makeup tips, until her ring light began flickering. At first, it was just static in the mic, a whisper. "Lena." She froze. The power went out. When it came back, her mirror had cracked. A single word etched into the glass from the inside. "Why?" That night, she saw Ethan in the corner of her room, his face, bloodied and broken, staring at her. When she turned on the lights, nothing. She was found dead the next morning, electrocuted by her own light rig, her mouth stretched in a silent scream. The glass shards had carved a smile into her cheek. Marcus, the drifter. Marcus tried to drown it in whiskey. He moved apartments, threw out every photo from the trip, blocked the others, but Ethan wasn't done. The TV turned on by itself. Static. Then Ethan's voice. "You were laughing while I begged." One night, Marcus woke to find the bathtub full, ice cold, the faucet still running. Floating inside were his own clothes, the ones from the trip. His screams echoed down the hallway as he clawed at the walls. When firefighters broke in after the alarm trip, they found him blind, covered in scratches, and muttering, "He won't stop falling." He died 3 days later from internal bleeding. His last act? Clawing the word sorry into his own chest. Tessa, the realist. Tessa had never believed in ghosts. She believed in consequences, and she knew hers were coming. She began seeing him in reflections, subway windows, elevator doors, puddles. He never moved, just stared. Then came the dreams, reliving the murder, except now she was Ethan, and the group beat her again and again. The morning she died, she was driving along a mountain road, ironically near the Sierra Nevadas. The police found her car impaled by a branch, 40 feet off the road, crushed around a tree. Her phone had recorded a 30-second clip of static. In it, just before the end, a voice whispered, "It's your turn." Cam the fractured. Cam didn't speak to anyone after Tessa's death. He checked into a motel off the grid. Windows covered. Lights off. Cameras everywhere. He left a suicide note, but that wasn't the whole story. The bathroom mirror fogged up each night. Cam refused to look at it, until one night it read, "You watched. You smiled." He slit his throat in the tub. The coroner found the mirror still fogged, with a bloody handprint smeared across it, 5 fingers broken. Part B, Descent. By now, the remaining 4 were in chaos. Nico barricaded himself in his apartment. He screamed at shadows, threw away every object with a reflective surface. One morning, neighbors heard him howling. When they forced their way in, the apartment was frozen, literally. The bathtub had turned to ice. Nico was beneath it, his expression frozen in horror, his hands outstretched toward something no one could see. Riley vanished. Blood smeared on the walls, a single word written in her own hand. Pushed. No body, no signs of forced entry, just silence. Shay fled. He bought a plane ticket to Chile, disconnected entirely. In the Andes, he lived in a remote hut. No technology, no people. But the wind still whispered. You chose to follow. You chose to kill. His journal told the rest. He saw Ethan in the shadows, in the smoke, in the fire. He froze to death in a cave. His fingers were black. His last message, scrawled in ash. He won't stop falling. Now I fall too. Part 7, The Final Friend. Only Jared remained. He isolated himself in the city. Apartment boarded up. Candles everywhere. Salt circles. Protective rooms drawn from dark corners of the internet. He stopped sleeping, afraid of what he'd see. He drank, cried, prayed, but Ethan was already there. Every window, every reflection, his broken, twisted face. You pushed me. Jared screamed, broke every mirror, every screen, but Ethan was inside him now. He ran to the roof, one last chance to escape. Police arrived too late. He leapt. They found him on the pavement, bones shattered, eyes wide. His blood had pooled into a perfect number, 9. Epilogue, The Wind Remembers. Ethan's story never made the news. 8 friends, gone in strange tragedies. But on the trails near Dead Man's Ridge, hikers say you can still hear something strange in the wind, a voice, carried across the cliffs. Sometimes it counts. 1, 2, 3. Sometimes it whispers your name, even if you've never been there. And sometimes, just sometimes, you feel a shove at your back. The end, or is it just the beginning? The Curse of Ethan. 5 years after the murder of Ethan Cole, a cruel joke awakens a wrath that never truly died. Act 1, The Joke. Scene 1, A Forgotten Warning. Dead Man's Ridge. The trees moan in the wind. The cliff face, now weathered and cracked, looms like a scar across the mountainside. The trail has long since been closed. The faded wooden sign reads, "Warning, unstable ground. Fatal fall in 2020. Do not proceed." But no one remembers the details anymore. No one but the dead. Scene 2, The Group. 6 friends from Portland, in their mid-20s, gather at a trailhead with hiking gear and phones out. Travis boisterous, disrespectful, desperate to go viral. Zoe a popular vlogger with a sarcastic edge and a massive ego. Liam quiet, artistic, views the world through his camera lens. Natalie skeptical, intelligent, the voice of reason. Benji soft-spoken, always the follower. Harper thrill-seeker, emotionally distant, hides fear behind bravado. They came for fun, for content, for the rush. Harper jokes, one dead guy 5 years ago? If this place was really cursed, we'd be screwed already. Natalie scoffs. Seriously, people act like ghosts care about TikToks. They laugh, they hide, they film. Scene 3, The Video. Hours later, they reach the overlook. The valley below is misty and quiet. Birds fall silent. Travis climbs to the edge of the cliff. This is it, right? Where that rich guy face planted. Zoe pulls out her phone. Let's make it official. Travis raises his arms. I'm Ethan Cole. I'm so rich and important. He stumbles dramatically. Oops, I slipped. Fake scream. Laughter. Zoe records it all, then pans the camera to Liam, who's pretending to cry. Please don't haunt us, Ethan. Harper walks to the edge, unzips her pants, and urinates over the cliff. Benji giggles nervously. Guys, maybe this is too much. No one listens. Behind them, the wind picks up. None of them notice the shadow on the rock beside them. It isn't theirs. Scene 4, the upload. Back at the Airbnb that night, Travis uploads the video with the title, Dead Guy's Cliff, LOL. Zoe tags it, Ethan Cole Challenge. It gains 10,000 views in 2 hours. But none of them notice that in the background, in 2 of the shots, there's an extra figure standing far behind them, pale, bent. The comments start pouring in. Who's the guy at the back? Did you stage that creep? Wait, his head's all wrong. What's wrong with his neck? The group laughs it off. Travis goes to bed smiling. He never wakes up. Act 2, The Unraveling. Scene 5, Travis, death by laughter. Travis's body is discovered the next morning by Zoe. His mouth is split open, not just wide, but ripped at the edges. His cheeks have torn up toward his ears. His tongue is missing. His jawbone is snapped entirely in half. He's bent backward over the bathroom sink, spine folded like origami. The mirror above the sink is fogged. Zoe wipes it clean. Etched in the condensation. Still funny. Scene 6, Zoe, the spotlight shatters. The others are horrified, but not convinced it's connected. Zoe, shaken, live streams about Travis's death. Her viewers spy. Her comments fill with sympathy, until one viewer keeps posting the same message. You're next. That night, her smart mirror, a brand sponsorship, begins flashing static. A voice comes through. Smile for me. Zoe tries to unplug it. Nothing works. She runs. The next morning, her assistant finds her collapsed in the corner of her living room, eyes open. Her jaw is missing, torn clean off. Blood pools beneath her, spelling influence this. Scene 7, Liam the director's cut. Liam reviews his footage. Something's wrong. New clips have appeared. They're filmed from above, from the drone's perspective, but he didn't capture them. One shows himself sleeping, but his apartment is on the 10th floor. Another shows Ethan's face pressed to the window. The drone activates on its own. It hovers silently above him, then dives, propellers screaming. Liam's body is found sliced open. The blade severed his eyes. His camera lies beside him, still recording. The final frame shows Ethan's reflection in the lens. Scene 8, Natalie, the doubter breaks. Natalie holds up in a motel. She tapes over every mirror, burns her phone, blocks every light source. The motel clerk hears her whispering. He's falling. He never stops falling. He finds her 2 days later. She's cut herself open with a motel room key, trying to dig out the echo. Scrawled on the wall in blood, he laughed with us once, now we fall with him. Scene 9, Benji, the followers fade. Benji flees to his childhood church. He prays until his knees bleed. He refuses to sleep. On the 4th night, he's heard shrieking in the sanctuary. Something dragged him down the aisle. Scratches mark the pews. The priest finds his body tied to the crucifix, upside down. His mouth is stuffed with rocks, just like Ethan's shattered teeth. The altar cloth reads, "Was I good enough now?" Act 3, The Last Laugh. Scene 10, Harper, alone on the ridge. Only Harper remains. She hikes back to Dead Man's Ridge alone. She thinks she can end it. "I'm sorry," she shouts into the wind. "We didn't know." The wind howls back. "But you did." She finds the spot where Ethan died. She drops to her knees. "Please." A shadow moves in front of her. Ethan stands there, bones cracked, face mangled, mouth half torn. His head turns slowly, unnaturally, like a marionette. He opens his mouth. No words, just a distant scream, the sound of falling. Harper backs away. Behind her, the cliff crumbles. She falls. Scene 11, viral again. A week later, hikers find a phone on the ridge. The last video is of Harper. She's crying. Behind her, a figure approaches. Then the screen goes black. When the video goes viral, viewers again ask, "Who's that behind her?" The clip ends with laughter. But it's not Harper's. Epilogue, the mountain waits. They say you can still hear it if you're quiet, a scream carried on the wind. Sometimes the trail is empty, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes the wind whispers your name. Sometimes it laughs. And sometimes, if you're stupid enough to mock the dead, you join them. The curse of Ethan. Mockery becomes memory, memory becomes death.